Hi, welcome to our channel where we share the most intriguing stories. When a hurricane leveled his town, one man's fortress stood tall, unbroken, defiant. But survival came at a price. Accused of weaponized architecture, sued by his neighbors, and targeted by arson, he didn't just fight back. He sparked a movement. This is the storm after the storm. You want to know what it's like when your whole world shakes apart, but you're the only one left standing? Let me back up a sec. I've been through enough hurricanes to know exactly when to board up, when to run, and more importantly, when to build so you never have to run again. That was the whole damn point of this place. People in town called it a fortress, but for me, it was therapy with a concrete finish. 6 years ago, me, my wife Erin, and our kids moved in, every inch built with my own company's hands. Steel-reinforced walls, storm shutters thick as a truck door, backup generators, solar arrays, drainage so good you'd think Hoover Dam lost a cousin, and a basement I sometimes joked could take a direct nuke. Honestly, after Katrina wiped out the house I grew up in, well, I swore that wind would never take anything from me again. The house sits right on the edge of Skyline Bay, close enough to the city for work, just far enough from any HOA to breathe free. Or so I thought. When the first warnings for Hurricane Jasper rolled in, we were ready. Didn't care what the news said. Something about that storm just smelled wrong, like it was gunning for us. Erin trusted me, probably more than she should, and we loaded up the basement, topped off the fuel cells, and when that wind started howling, we sealed the steel hatch and waited it out. It was like trying to sleep inside a blender. The power grid died, but our lights didn't flicker. Kids slept through most of it. Erin didn't. We just sat, holding hands, counting seconds, and pretending it made a difference. But those walls, they didn't even creak. When dawn finally broke and I unlocked the hatch, it felt like coming out after the end of the world. The air reeked of salt and mold. Every yard a wasteland, fences tangled in trees, houses missing whole corners, and downed power lines looking like dead snakes. Right in the middle of that mess, our house stood, all lit up, not a shingle out of place. And let me tell you, there's a weird guilt that comes with that. Survivor's guilt, they call it. When your neighbors' lives are in ruins, you feel like a traitor for making it. But I didn't have time to wallow. We had power, clean water, working satellite. Suddenly, my garage was a charging station, Erin was feeding anyone who showed up, and the guest room had a family with a baby sleeping in it. I even helped Old Man Bedro drag his wife's wheelchair out of the debris. By day 4, I was running on caffeine and pride, and I figured being the neighborhood's emergency hub was the least I could do. I didn't expect a mob. They showed up around noon, maybe 8 or 10, led by a woman in a spotless raincoat and heels that made 0 sense in ankle-deep mud. Karen Wellman, president of the Seabs Dunes HOA. Her smile was the kind of thing you'd see in court, not a casserole line. She was flanked by a guy in a suit, another with a clipboard, someone recording me on their phone, real official. They weren't here for help. They wanted payback. Karen started right in. Your home was intentionally designed to resist events like Jasper, correct? I said, yeah, didn't realize that was illegal. Not yet, she shot back, but it created an unfair environmental imbalance. She had a lawyer ready to explain how the aerodynamic curvature of my roof supposedly redirected winds and made the storm hit their side harder. I laughed out loud. It just slipped out. Like, come on, you really think my roof made a hurricane worse? But they were dead serious. Karen handed me a letter, formal grievance. My options? Let displaced residents live in my house until further notice, or pay restitution to the community. Restitution. For surviving. And she claimed my lot was technically on shared land, HOA territory, even though my deed said otherwise. Boundaries evolve, her lawyer said. My pulse went through the roof. They gave me until Friday to respond and marched off like they'd just served a subpoena. That night, Erin asked what was really going on. I just showed her the paperwork. Class action lawsuit, 72 signatures, $2 million in damages. Their claims? Aggravating wind force distribution, architectural selfishness, nonconformity to disaster aesthetics. Words you'd never expect outside a satirical blog. But the threat was real. They even had expert testimony from a Dr. Troy Belmonte, some internet quack with a blog about how reflective windows give people migraines and scare pigeons. So I called Russ Danner, my lawyer, a real bulldog, no fancy tricks, just pure stubbornness. He combed through every land record we had, found my property was safely outside their boundary, until the HOA forged a boundary amendment 10 days after the storm, using a map so outdated it showed an irrigation canal that had been filled in years ago. Bold, stupid, and probably illegal. That changed the game. But it wasn't just legal threats. A neighbor went viral on TikTok, blaming my military-grade house for their problems. Conspiracy nuts emailed asking for my blueprints. Local radio called me a prepper elitist, and suddenly I was getting mail about vortexes and weather warfare. All while the HOA doubled down, running public attacks, launching a website filled with animations of hurricanes bouncing off my house like a pinball. Equal damage, equal dignity. That was their rallying cry. I even got a shingle in the mail, "Traitor," written on it in Sharpie. But here's the thing about being accused by people who don't actually understand the rules. They slip up. Russ's real estate guy dug up HOA meeting notes showing Karen had tried and failed, twice, to annex my property before the storm. The hurricane gave her an excuse, but she was already planning the coup. Then came the security footage. My own cameras caught Karen after the mob scene telling her treasurer, one way or another, that house is coming down. That's when Russ said, now we play offense. We hosted a meeting, just for residents, showed the forged docs, the bogus science, played the video. Silence, real silence, the kind that says everything. That night, Jim, a guy I'd barely talked to, came up and said he'd been fined by Karen for saving a neighbor's dog. She's gone too far, he said. I want to testify. Now I had an insider. Karen didn't back down. Press briefings, claims of weaponized architecture. Her lawyer sent us a cease and desist over the video footage. But Louisiana's laws were on my side. The pressure built. That's when things turned dangerous. I woke up at 3 a.m. to the smell of chemicals. Flames licking up the siding near my backup fuel reserves. Not random, not an accident. My suppression system snuffed it fast, but cameras caught two guys in maintenance vests running away. One, Chris Foley, ex-HOA contractor. The sheriff took it seriously. Chris got caught, cracked in hours, and named Logan Barnes, son of a board member, as his partner. It wasn't a real crime, just a warning, they'd been told. That warning became criminal charges, attempted arson, property damage, trespassing. Russ went nuclear, stacking on reckless endangerment, conspiracy, and filing a countersuit for $3.5 million. But the biggest move, we filed to dissolve the HOA entirely. Louisiana law lets you do that if you can prove criminal activity or abusive behavior. With forged documents, an arson attempt tied to the board, and a flood of witnesses coming forward, Karen's empire was shaking on rotten stilts. The DA started pressing charges. Someone leaked an audio file. Karen telling her board that maybe a little smoke would bring me back down to earth. By then, the public was watching. Neighbors defected. Even the once loyal started coming clean. A retired accountant audited their books, finding consulting fees funneled through Karen's shell company for disaster repairs. That never happened. The attorney general started sniffing around. The whole thing turned into a circus. Court day came, packed with residents, reporters, a sketch artist, you name it. Russ laid out the case, surgical and ruthless. Forgery, harassment, power grabs, arson, misuse of funds. Every accusation backed by records and footage. Dr. Wexler, our real hurricane expert, took the stand and shredded their wind theory with a wind tunnel model. Jim testified about being fined for saving a dog, about Karen manipulating votes and silencing dissent. The judge laughed out loud when he called the HOA a cartel in cardigans. Even Karen's fake expert, Dr. Belmonte, got exposed for having a mail-order PhD. But the coup de grace? The leaked group chat, where Karen typed, "If courts won't act, we need another kind of pressure." She tried to wriggle out, but it was over. Then a FEMA rep confirmed Karen filed false claims for properties she never owned, federal fraud. Judge ruled for us on every count, awarded damages, ordered the HOA dissolved, and recommended criminal charges. Karen was arrested, denied bail, and her board scattered. I watched county workers tear out the HOA sign like they were pulling a bad tooth. Aaron and the kids came home. The air felt different, like the neighborhood finally exhaled. The old regime was gone. Residents started rebuilding. No HOA, no fear. Jim, once the rule enforcer, now helped organize legal aid clinics and zoning workshops. He said, "Turns out we were just beating the rebellion out of people." That stuck with me. I got a letter one day, a photo of a house built tough, steel roof, wide base, like mine, with a note. "Thanks to you, I didn't compromise." No name, just that. I pinned it above my desk, right next to the first sketch I ever drew for this house. Back when Katrina stole everything, I started something new, Free Build. Just a website, a network connecting homeowners, engineers, legal advocates, anyone fighting predatory HOAs. The inbox blew up. Messages from all over, Navy vets in Florida, teachers in Nevada, couples in Texas, each with their own war story. National news picked it up. Some called me a hero, others a cult leader. Didn't matter. For once, it felt like the wind was blowing the right way. Karen got 15 years. The neighborhood went back to being just a place to live. I took on clients building hurricane homes. One even referenced my case as proof of concept. But the best part? Seeing neighbors outside, laughing, kids playing like this was always a normal place, not a battleground. And Free Build? Maybe it sparks a movement, maybe it fizzles out, but I know this. The house they tried to sue, the one they tried to burn, it still stands. And maybe, just maybe, now more people are willing to fight for what keeps them safe, no matter who says it's wrong. So what do you think? Where's the line between community and control, between survival and selfishness? Drop your story, your thoughts, in the comments. Let's talk about what real justice looks like and who gets to decide it.